Hi, this is Kathy from Gadget Stop 321, and in today's video I'm here with my sister Gina, and we're just got back from the 2024 St. Louis Pen Show. We're going to show off what we got. Now, after that, we might sit around talking about what we liked about the pen show. This was our very first pen show, and we had a table, so I'll have some timestamps here for the different pens if you just want to see the writing samples for the pens, but we're gonna flip it around and take a look at those. Okay, our first day at the pen show was Thursday. That's the trader day. So when we arrived, we went and picked up our packet for our table, and then we just made a walkthrough of the trader room, and Gina picked up a pen from Mike Green. That is just amazing. This is a handmade pen by Mike, and I like the clip. A lot of handmade pens, the clips are iffy. I'm just super picky about clips. And this one, the clip kind of mimics the shape of the pen, and it just looks so good. And that material, I don't know if it will come across on video, but it is a mixture of chatoyant materials of different colors and some, I don't know if some of the materials are matte, but I know some of those colors are translucent, and it just gives it a very three-dimensional look. The threads are really nice on it, and Gina got a 1.5 stub. Now, she and I have completely opposite tastes in nibs, and she got the widest nib he had available. What do you have this inked up with, Gina?
Iroshizuku, the Kon-peki.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. Do you remember if he has a E at the end of his name?
I don't recall.
I'm going to put an E there. I think it did. That is nice. I don't know if it's coming across on screen, but Kon-peki is a beautiful ink to pair with this pen. So that's the only pen that we picked up on Thursday. And then Friday, I had my table. For the entire show, I didn't really walk around that much. Gina would walk around and look at stuff. And at one point, she went and checked out the Penlux table. Penlux and Sailor kind of had tables there together. I think they share the same distributor, and she came back with this pen. What nib size did you get in this?
I got the 1.1 stub on that one.
So this is a Penlux Masterpiece Grande. It's a big pen, but I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of frosted white pieces of resin floating in like a shimmery gold resin. It is beautiful. It's got gold hardware, and she and I agreed. After I saw this, I said, go get me one too. I gave her some money, and she went and got me one with a broad nib. And the ink this year from the pen show was KWZ Big Muddy. I swatched it Friday night when we got back to the room, and we decided is that what you have in here?
That's what I have in it also.
Okay, that's what I have in mine. So I'll write with yours, and then I'll write with mine. You said 1.1?
1.1.
That's nice. And I'll write with mine. I've got a broad nib. When I got this, originally my intention was to take it to one of the nib grinders there at the show and have it turned into a reverse architect. But after I tested it with this ink, I thought, well, a little bit of a hard start there. I thought, I'm going to use it as a broad nib for a little while. Even though I'm not a broad nib person, this is just so smooth. Now mine is super wet. The first time I inked it up, ink was just dripping out of it. I was kind of worried because I've had a
Spelled Grande.
Oh, there we go. I was worried that I got a bad pen because I was just holding it above the ink and it was just drip, drip, drip. And the entire reservoir emptied back into the pen and I thought, or emptied into the bottle of ink and I thought, uh-oh. I thought, well, maybe there's some residual manufacturing oils or something, or maybe the nib is not seated properly. So I rinsed it out, gave it a little push to make sure the nib was seated in there. I didn't feel it move or anything, and I inked it up again, and I haven't had any trouble with it leaking, but it does write really wet, and the reverse writing is really nice. With having this broad of a nib, if I need to write a little finer, I like that. Is he tearing something up?
No.
My dog is back here, and I'm worried. Oh, Friday, someone who watches my YouTube channel came by and gave me a TWSBI VAC 700 in Iris. I was shocked. I was like, I can't take that. And he's like, yes, take it. It's an extra fine nib. Did he say that he just doesn't prefer extra fine?
I think so.
I think that was the thing. It was too fine. It was either too fine or too broad. I can't remember which one it was.
It might have been too broad.
I think it was too broad. I think it was someone else who said they messed up and got the wrong size TWSBI, but I'm bumping this. But I think he had said he preferred Japanese extra fine. So I inked this up with some Iroshizuku Mirasaki-shikibu. When I wrote with it at first, it wasn't scratchy, but it had feedback kind of like a Sailor or a Platinum. It, like in each direction, it wrote with the same amount of feedback. It wasn't scratchy, the nibs weren't misaligned. So I just did a few little figure eights on some micro mesh, and it's much better. And the reverse, let's see. I did the same thing with the reverse writing. So the reverse is kind of like an extra, extra fine now. And it's smooth. So this is really nice. This is my first vac filler, and I'm just blown away. One thing I want to say, if you ever see me at a pen show or something, don't feel like you have to give me something. But I really do appreciate this. This is beautiful. I only had one TWSBI in my collection, and I took it to the pen show. I had a TWSBI Mini. It had the aluminum section, and it was too slippery. I sold the TWSBI Mini, but this one has the plastic section, and it is so much more comfortable. It's grippy. It's much more comfortable to write with. So I am just tickled to death with this pen, and it looks so good. It would look good with Kon-peki also, but it's got lots of purple that look good with Mirasaki-shikibu. And so then Saturday, Gina had told me that Sailor had a major sale going on certain models of the Pro Gear Slim and the regular Pro Gear. You could get a Pro Gear Slim for $99 and the Pro Gear for $139. They had the little duck pen, they had the little brown pen with the teddy bear in both sizes, and they had the Winter Spice. So Gina got the little teddy bear pen in the Pro Gear Slim, and I got the Winter Spice in the Pro Gear size. Gina, what nib size did you get?
I got, I believe, the broad.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, Gina likes nibs as wide as possible, and This broad nib, she's like, that it writes like a fine. Let's see. To me, I don't know, if I compared them side by side, maybe I would be able to tell the difference. But if you just asked me to guess, I would guess that this was a Sailor medium nib. Oh, yours is smooth.
Yes.
Did you do anything to it?
No.
Oh, I'll tell you about mine in just a minute. Pro Gear Slim, broad. Now, you have another Sailor with a broad nib, don't you? You're that blue one?
Yes.
It's not this smooth, is it? I wrote with it one time. Maybe it's just because it was running out of ink, but it did not feel this smooth.
No.
And the ink she has in this one, is it this?
It is.
Sailor had an exclusive Pinchot ink. It's kind of a dark, murky green. It doesn't have a name, does it?
I don't think so.
I think it's just Pinchot, 2024 Pinchot, and that is nice. I like it, and it writes nice and wet. Do you mind if I see if it writes in reverse?
Sure.
Not super smooth, and it is very fine. Can you imagine you ever writing with that?
No.
It's very feedbacky, but if you had this one and you thought you might want to write in reverse, you could run it over a little micro mesh, but perfectly usable if you need to write something teeny tiny. That's nice. And it's got, oh, this is the way it goes, the little teddy bear on the finial. That's cute. Now, I got the Winter Spice. It's kind of sparkly. Now, I was confusing this one with the, there was another Christmas pen called Christmas Pudding. It had like a translucent kind of dark green section. So when I first saw that this was all that kind of burnt orange color, I was like, is that right? But I was confusing it with the other pen. And this one has, I don't know. The only thing I don't like about this pen is this finial just seems kind of out of place. If both ends were that color, I would feel a little better about it. But overall, I love this pen. And the reason I got this one is because I have a bottle of Taccia Hokusai Benitsuchi, which is one of my favorite inks, but I didn't really have a pen that, it was really suited for. So, and I got mine in a medium fine. But mine, I inked it up last night, and in one direction, it was just a hair scratchy, just a hair past feedback, and just a little scratchy. So in a little bit, I'll talk about how I fixed it. Yeah, now it feels nice. I didn't mention this. The Pro Gear Slim, that's a 14 karat nib. And the regular Pro Gear is 21K. This one's a medium fine. I'm writing with a pretty light hand, but I did write with a little bit of a heavier hand earlier, and you can feel the bounciness in that nib. It's really nice. And now it's not glassy smooth. I would call it buttery smooth in each direction. I'm really liking this. And the reverse writing, I would call that a Sailor fine. I smoothed the reverse writing a little bit. It's just a little feedbacky, but very comfortable. If I had a pen that wrote like that regular, I would like it. And I'm not going to write it, but it was that Taccia Benitsuchi. I love those two together. I want to show what the deal was with my nib. I thought it was misaligned at first, so I got my loop out, and it didn't look like it was misaligned. So I wrote with it a little bit, and I could not figure out, but one side, when it's normally, imagine you're looking at the pen just straight on. The nib slit should be vertical like that. Well, one side, it was cut a little bit wider, and that little edge right there was catching. So I had to work with it quite a bit with some micro mesh. I didn't want to screw it up. It was just a very delicate back and forth process. I think I have rounded off that little part right there, and now it writes really smooth. One thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing any kind of nib tuning, don't worry too much about how the nib looks, because when I look at this under a loupe, I'm like, oh, something needs to be fixed there. It's kind of lopsided. And maybe it's kind of, I rounded off that edge right there. It looks like it might have baby's bottom, but it writes. So I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not worried about it. As long as it writes nicely, I'm happy with it. And I don't have any trouble with hard starts or anything. So I'm super happy with this pen now. The booth beside mine was Inky Converters. She has a lot of stationery, accessories, and washi tape and stampers and desk pads. She had some hats and just all kinds of interesting stuff. She had stickers. So I went through and I picked out the black cat posing with the Pilot pen, because I have a black cat and I love Pilot pens. We've got the little mouse with, that looks like it could be, I don't know, it's a lever filler. Anyway, it's a mouse with a fountain pen, and I have some pet mice. And one of the old school Sailor ink bottles with some sakura flowers, and a bottle that looks like the little Iroshizuku bottles, because we love Iroshizuku inks around here. And she had all kinds of stickers to choose from, and she does all the artwork herself on her washi tapes, her stickers. She is very talented and has some cool stuff. And Gina bought a couple things from me. I've been carrying the green, I forget what they call it, the greenish brown Lockbee Field Journal. And can I open it, or is there private? And so she liked mine, and so I said, hey, I have another one. And so she bought this one from me, and I told her, don't put a fountain pen in here because these are pretty tight, or at least don't put a plastic fountain pen in there. That's my personal recommendation. So after we set up the table, she saw my machine era, this one's called the Markup, and she said, hey, that would go good in the little pocket journal. Right now it's got a Schmidt fine liner refill in it, but it also, that's a little scratchy, but it will also take Pilot G2 refills. Now, so I gave it to her, and she put it, you put it in your back jeans pocket, and she took it out and she's like, oh no, I scuffed it up. And I have done the exact same thing before with my Machine Era Field Pen Twist. And I looked at it, and you can tell that's not stainless steel. That is brass, I guess brass, from the snap on her back pocket. And when she first showed me, it was the whole pen was covered with what looked like scuff marks. But you can see they're wearing off. And I told her, this pen has a DLC coating, or a diamond-like coating. And if you put it in a pocket with your keys, or like in her case, with a snap, that is residue from the snap. That's not the finish being worn off. So I've been impressed with this type of coating on a pen. It is really durable. But that is that everything? Oh, you want me to show this? I won't open it.
Oh, yeah.
She also bought a set of the oversized field notes from me. She uses those at work. So that's everything we bought. I'll flip the camera back around, and maybe we can talk a little bit about stuff we liked about the pen show. Okay, so when we decided we were going to go to the pen show, did you go into it with a game plan? Like, did you have an idea of what kind of pen you were looking for?
No, I really just set a budget for myself of how much, I didn't want to go overspending. And then I thought, when I got there, just be able to really look around and make a decision then?
I went there with a list of pens. Actually, the day that we went there, I was kind of bouncing around. Like, I had a list of pens that I was thinking about considering, and like from day to day it would change which one was at the top of the list. By the time we went to the pen show, the pen that I thought I was going to be looking for and would get if I saw it was a Mont Blanc, the second year Around the World in 80 Days, the 146 size. And when we went through the trader room, you had already gotten your pen. We looked at some, there were tons of used modern and vintage pens. Probably some unused, but I got to hold a Pelican of various sizes for the first time, and I'm like, I don't know, they were lighter than I thought they were going to be, and I thought, I don't know. Aurora was another one that I knew they were light pens, but just holding it in my hand, I was surprised by how lightweight and delicate it felt. And I mentioned in one of my videos, that's one of the reasons I was getting rid of my E95S. It just feels too delicate. Even if it's not, even if it's a nice sturdy pen, if a pen feels too delicate, I'm kind of afraid to take it out of the house. And so that kind of Aurora was one that was kind of high on the list. I was thinking I might get an Aurora at the pen show. But I kind of crossed off Aurora and Pelican for now. And I came to a table and I saw an Around the World in 80 Days, second year, the 146. I'm like, I've already found it. But I was like, oh no, I haven't sold anything yet. I don't want to spend my money that I have to use as change for my table. I can't buy it right now, but I was like, at least I'll have the chance to pick it up and look at it. I picked it up, took off the cap. It was a rollerball.
Yeah.
But by that time, she was done buying her pen. She came up to that table, and that same gentleman had
the Il Magnifico.
The Visconti Il Magnifico, the one for this year. That's the pen that she and I are always talking about. And so we got to hold it, and it was nice. I always pictured that pen as being, they talk about how heavy it is. And compared to other pens, it is heavy. But to me, compared to other pens I was picking up there at his table, it wasn't that bad.
No.
And it wasn't as over the top chunky as I thought it would be. It looked like it would be a comfortable pen to use, but obviously that would be a pen I would be scared to use.
Right.
A $2,000 pen. So that was fun. It was fun going through that trader room. I got to see a Conway Stewart Churchill, several of them in person. That's kind of a pen that I've always liked the looks of. And I thought, oh, it's so big. If I ever got one, it would probably be uncomfortable to use, but it was very comfortable. It was huge, but I got to hold it in my hand. It's got that brass liner, so it's a pretty heavy pen, but it felt really comfortable. So a Conway Stewart Churchill is a possibility for the future. It's nice to be able to hold pens in real life and either know, yeah, these are on my list of pens I would consider, or cross them off or move them down the list. Let me see. What were some of the things let me ask you this. This was our first pen show. I decided to have a table because I wanted to sell some pens. I didn't want to start bringing in more pens before I thinned out my collection a little bit. And so I decided to have a pen table instead of trying to sell pens online on eBay and stuff. When I considered the fees and the shipping that you have to pay for eBay, and when I compared it to the cost of a table, the table seemed like a pretty good idea. So we had a table. Do you regret us having a table? Do you feel like it tied you down too much?
No, I really enjoyed having the table. It was nice meeting so many people and getting to talk to them, people that, had pretty large collections. And then the number of people that came up that this was like, the first time they were purchasing a fountain pen. That was really exciting.
On day one, I feel like on Friday, when I say day one, I mean the day one of the public pen show, I feel like those were more pin people. Like
Yes.
they knew what they wanted, they knew what they were looking for. They were browsing the whole room. We were right there close to the entryway, so people would come by, check out everything, and they would say, hey, I want to go check out the whole room before I commit to buying anything. And a few people came back, and I sold the Custom Heritage 91. That's a pin that you can get it like on eBay and stuff, but you can't get it here in the United States. So that one sold. The Lucina was one of the first ones to go. A young man came by. He's like, oh, you've got the yellow Lucina. I need this one to complete my collection. He had all the other colors. So people that day were getting stuff that was harder to find other places. I think someone, I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, someone bought the Custom 74. But on Friday, it was more people who kind of knew what they were looking for, or knew what their type of pin was. And on Saturday, it was more of people that they had never touched a fountain pen before, but they wanted to. They wanted to try one out.
Right.
And in fact, we are from 3 hours away from the pin show. So we were shocked when we saw someone, two ladies, that work at a place where she eats lunch almost every day. We're like, they turned around. Gina said, I think I know them. I see them almost every day when I go to lunch. And when they turned around and saw her, they're like, you know, you saw that glimmer of recognition. So they came over and we're like, you are pin people? They're like, yeah. When we saw this on social media, we were like, take the day off. We've got to go to that. So that was kind of cool.
Yes.
We saw a lot of people who either recognized me, they had seen my videos, they watch my videos regularly. We saw a few of those people. We saw a few people who saw my pin show videos that weren't maybe regular viewers, but I put videos up of pins that I was taking to the pin show, and it was nice. They said that was helpful. And then it was funny. A lady who worked at the traveler's table, the traveler's notebook table, walked by and saw my Sailor LaCool, the pink one. And she's like, oh, I have that pin. And so she and I started talking, and she's like, I recognize your voice. Are you on social media? And I told her about my YouTube channel, and she's like, I think you're the one who convinced me to get the LaCool. So that was hilarious. We had a laugh over that. And my thoughts on the table, leading up to the show, I was so excited about it, but as it got closer, I was more and more nervous. But I am glad we got the table, because if I had not had the table, we wouldn't have had these interactions with all these people. And that is what made the pin show so fun. I always hear people talking about, oh, the pin show is fun, but it's the interactions you have with other pin people that really makes it. That is the truth.
Definitely.
That is the truth. I remember these two little boys that came up that I asked them if they used fountain pens. They said yes, and they started showing me their fountain pens. They were pros, man. They had vintage stuff, and they were showing me pens that they had traded for. And I asked them if they used their pens at school, and they said, well, we're homeschooled. And I'm like, so yeah, you use them at school? They're like, yeah, we do. And that was really cool. Families with their little kids. There was this family, a mom and dad, and 3 young kids, like young, a baby, a toddler, and a young kid. They were there for 2 days. They bought some stuff from us. I'm trying to remember. I know I gave them a couple of the 2 little jet pen chibis so that they could play with. I gave the dad the vintage lever filler to play around with, to see if he was interested in lever fillers. They bought something from us too. I can't remember what they bought. They bought some stuff and then came back the next day, and I gave them some stuff. But we had a lot of people. There was a young girl. I didn't sell a whole lot of paper, but a young girl, to me, her and her boyfriend looked like they were high schoolers, but that means they were probably in college or something. But she was just getting into fountain pens, and she was showing me the fountain pens that she had bought. And I had those ARC notebooks with all the refills and stuff, and she bought the A5 size. They got a good deal on that because there were 2 notebooks and a bunch of paper, and her and her boyfriend were going to split it up and share it. So that was kind of cool. It was a fun experience.
It really was.
What I've heard from all the other vendors is the St. Louis Pen Show is one of the best organized. I don't have any experience with any other pen shows, but it was well organized. They provided us with a buffet breakfast. They had, was it a buffet lunch? Was it stuff you go through and make sandwiches?
Yes, you can make sandwiches or salads.
And so I would stay at the table and Gina would go make us both a salad. It was nice. An awesome experience. And I'm going to flip the camera around for a second. I took 2 tubs and my little toolbox of Esterbrook stuff, and that was too much stuff for one table. That's why on the first day I couldn't put out any of the paper stuff. And I think that's what hurt me on the paper stuff. I probably would have sold more, but people had already found their paper. I sold 2 notebooks, but every little bit helps. It made my load a little bit lighter. I had a choice this time. I could have got a table on a wall, and if you get a table on a wall, you've got your main table and then you have a table behind you. I could have set everything out, but I didn't do a practice setup ahead of time to know how big it was going to be. So as I sold stuff, I would reach down and get notebooks and set them out. So that was a learning experience. People had really cool setups. Like they used those little modular wire boxes to make little displays. That was cool. Got some cool ideas. Anything that you didn't like about the pen show?
One regret is that I didn't bring any pens to kind of get through my collection, kind of condense it down.
That worked out for the best.
We didn't have room.
Because now we know that there are people who are looking to get into fountain pens and just want to try some entry-level stuff. So if we do another pen show, we'll have a nice little selection. Honestly, it's best that you didn't bring it because we wouldn't have been able to fit it on the table.
We didn't have room.
Yeah. So now, for the next pen show, we'll still have a nice selection of stuff. It won't look skimpy. The big thing I heard from everybody, us being there at the front, almost everybody who came through, you heard the word, this is overwhelming.
Yes.
And that's another reason I am glad I had a table. I walked through the room on Trader Day, on Thursday. Just that was overwhelming to me. There was so much stuff that were like, yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, that's a possibility. A Platinum Mizumo. I got to hold my first Irushi lacquer pen.
I didn't.
That's amazing.
I was a little too scared to pick those up.
Yeah. But got to talk to some really knowledgeable people that have been doing this fountain pen thing for a really long time. I will probably at my next pen show, well, if we have a table, yeah, we can go through the Trader on Trader Day, and I know the kind of stuff I know to look for now. I did not get up and walk around the main pen show at all. My regret is I wanted to go to Amarillo Stationery. He had some little pen trays and there's a little.
I didn't make it over there either. We had breakfast with him one day. I didn't realize that was him until later on social media. I saw he won a door prize. He had really cool glasses. Yeah. And I'm like, that's the guy from Amarillo Stationery. We just had breakfast with him this morning. And I forgot to go to his table because there was some stuff on his table I was wanting to get. So I may just have to order it online. He's got cool fountain pen accessories. I'm very satisfied with the pens I got. I know that there are other pens out there that I would like to get, but I'm pacing myself. You don't have to get them all at the same time. Honestly, when I was given this pen, I was just so blown away. That kind of satisfied that if I would have come home and this was my only pen, I probably would have been content with that.
I tend to get overwhelmed, too much stuff coming in at once, but I'm happy with what I got. Oh, here's another thing we missed. I saw on social media this morning as I was looking through stuff. There was a 2024 Yovo nib. I think it was at Pen Realm. They had nibs available for sale that were laser engraved with 2024. And the only Yovo pen you have is your new one, and we're not sure whether it's, you know, a threaded nib section or friction fits. We're not crazy about messing with that. But I have a Leonardo that has the threaded nib section. I would have liked to had one of those. I'm gonna look around and see if you can find those online. But those are my only regrets, and they're not like major regrets. I'm very content with.
I loved it.
I am. It exceeded my expectations immensely. This was fun, and we just did Friday and Saturday. That's probably what we would do at any other pen show. Yeah, that was fun. All right. Anything else that you can think of that we haven't covered? I think that's about it. Oh, I got to meet Gail from Gail's Bookish Things. She was the first person that came over. I saw her, you know, at a booth, and we saw each other and like, hey. I knew she had already told me she was going to be at the pen show because she lives up in that area. She had been to the pen show before, so that was kind of cool. And she had her friends with her, and we got to talk pen stuff. The talking to people about pen stuff. I mean, if you are a pen person, if you like to go to office supply stores and just look at stuff, the St. Louis Pen Show is something you need to visit.
Yes.
You will be among your people. You can sit and talk about pen stuff to your heart's content. And we're definitely going back again next year, and we're kind of making plans right now to go to next year's
Arkansas.
Yeah,
also.
the Arkansas Pen Show in Little Rock. So we've talked a long time. I guess we'll wrap it up, and maybe we should do this again sometime. This was kind of fun.
This was fun.
All right. If you like videos like this about pens and ink and paper, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to see more just like it.